Welcome to these sci-fi guys. I am your host, Dave. As always, I got my two good friends here with me, Chad and John. Today, our movie that we watched was Planet of the Apes. This was the first one from 1968. If you guys know that there was actually a sequel made, or not really a sequel, a reboot was made, say early to mid 90s, and
hmm
then they rebooted it again in the early 2000s.
They
So,
got they got another one coming out on Disney, Kingdom of the sequel.
yeah, again, you know, uh, it- it's one of those that's a classic. This movie was a classic, and it kind of started at all that. One thing before we even I do the synopsis. One of the things is the writers of this the actual writing of the because this was a book originally, and he's like this would not do well as a movie at all. It's designed as a book, and 1968 they made some changes, but um, we will eventually need to see. I'd like to see the one with Mark Wahlberg, the one
hmm
that's in the middle of like the '90s one. Just because one, they did not make a sequel for it, um, so we kind of have free reign on what we would do after that. And I really like the premise of it. I thought it was really cool. But so let's get started here. Let me go ahead and give everybody a plot summary of what happened here for this movie, Planet of the Apes, 1968. Astronauts Taylor, Landon, and Dodge awaken from deep hibernation after a near light space voyage. Stewart, the lone female crew member, is dead due to a sleep chamber malfunction caused by an air leak. Their spacecraft crashes into the lake of an unknown planet. Taylor estimates them in Orion. It's in the Bellatrix system, excuse me, 300 light years from their home, the solar system. Before abandoning their sinking vessel, the ship's chronometer shows that it is November 25th, 3978, 2006 years after their departure in 1972. The men traveling through, uh, the men traveled through a desolate wasteland, coming across an eerie, scarecrow like figures and a freshwater lake with lush vegetation. So, what do? They decide to go skinny dipping. You're in space for all that time. You just want to take your clothes off and go swimming, I guess. Hey, well, the men's clothes are stolen and shredded by primitive mute humans. Soon afterwards, armed guerrillas raid a cornfield where the humans are gathering food. Taylor is shot in the throat as he and the others are captured. Dodge is killed, and Landon is rendered unconscious in the chaos. Taylor is taken to Ape City. Two chimpanzees, animal psychiatrist Zira and surgeon Galen, save Taylor's life, though his throat injury renders him temporarily mute. Taylor is placed with a captive female, whom he later names Nova. He observes an advanced society of talking apes with a strict caste system. Gorillas are the military force and laborers. Orangutans oversee the government and religion. And intellectual chimpanzees are mostly scientists and doctors. The ape society is a theocracy. While apes consider the primitive humans as vermin to be hunted and either killed outright, enslaved, or used as scientific experiments. It kind of sounds like what we did with apes for the longest time as humans, just kind of role reversal. Uh, Taylor convinces Zira and her fiance Cornelius that he is as intelligent as they are. One way by making a paper airplane. Dr. Zayas, their orangutan superior, arranges for Taylor to be castrated against Zira's protest. Taylor escapes and finds Dodge's stuffed corpse on display in a museum. He's soon recaptured in the process of revealing that he can speak, which alarms the apes. A hearing to determine Taylor's origin is convened. Taylor mentions that his two comrades, learning that Landon was lobotomized and rendered catatonic, believing Taylor is either from an unknown human tribe beyond the borders or was the subject of a mad scientist who gave him the power of speech. Zaius privately threatens to castrate and lobotomize Taylor for refusing to reveal his origins. With help from Zira's nephew Lucius, Zira and Cornelius free Taylor and Nova and take them to the Forbidden Zone, a taboo region outside of Ape City where Taylor's ship crashed. Ape law has ruled the area out of bounds for centuries. I wonder why. Cornelius and Zira are intent on to gather proof of an earlier civilization, basically a human civilization, which Cornelius discovered a year earlier, to be cleared of heresy. Taylor focuses on proving that he comes from a different planet. When the group arrives at the cave, Cornelius is intercepted by Zaius and his soldiers. Taylor holds them off by threatening to shoot Zaius, who agrees to enter the cave to disprove their theories. Inside, Cornelius displays remnants of a technologically advanced human society predating their history. Taylor identifies the artifacts as dentures, eyeglasses, and a heart valve to the apes. And in astonishment, a talking human doll. Zaius admits that he had always known about the ancient human civilization. Taylor wants to search for answers, and Zaius warns Taylor he may not like what he finds. Right? After Taylor and Nova are allowed to leave, Zaius has the cave sealed off and destroyed the evidence, while charging Zira, Cornelius, and Lucius with heresy. Taylor and Nova follow the shoreline on horseback. Eventually, they discover the remnants of the Statue of Liberty, revealing that this supposedly alien planet is actually Earth, long after an apocalyptic nuclear war. Understanding Zaius' earlier warning, while Nova looks on in shock, Taylor falls to his knees in despair, condemning humanity for destroying the world. It's a little bit longer, that one, but just trying to get everything in there. All right. Chad, was this your first time seeing the movie, or have you seen it before?
I've seen it.
Okay. John, your first time seeing the movie, right? What'd you think?
As per usual. Honestly, I love the charm. I guess is the best word for it. I mean, there's just something about what would be considered classic films, especially in the sci-fi realm. They're not going to have crazy effects. You know they're not going to do anything particularly over the top, other than maybe some of the acting, especially in deaths. But like in general, highly enjoyed it. Highly enjoy the classic practical effects, the classic just normal, simple acting just to tell a story. And I think overall, I think it did it well, and I really enjoyed being able to watch what I would consider classic. Because in terms of quality, I put it up there with The Time Machine, which is one of my favorite more classic films. At least in terms of like how they produce certain effects and stuff. So overall, I enjoyed it well.
Yeah, the only drawback I didn't care for the effects was when he was just sitting there talking to the recorder, and you just saw those flashes of light, red and green and
Mm.
purple lights right outside. Like, hey, I'm flying through space, and all these colors are just showing up, and it was just distracting to me. To me, it was just one of those things that you know, it's like when you hear a podcast or you're listening to a news reporter and then they've got music on in the background, but the music is way too loud, and it's just one of those things that's just distracting. To me, that was the only part I really thought was distracting. But I do have some questions then. Since Chad, you've seen it, I'm not going to ask you what you thought of it because I'm sure you liked it, right?
Yeah, I love the movie. Thing is, it's a classic. To me, is one of those in the '60s. You got to think they didn't have all this CGI. All what they could do is costumes and set design, and I loved the set design, loved the costumes, and I know we're probably gonna get into it later on. So
Well, actually, the one thing I did read when I was doing some research on this, the person that designed the ape's face and all of the prosthetics that they had to wear is the same guy that designed Mr. Spock's ears. for Star Trek. So, and those were a classic for many, many, many years. And even in other movies, you'll see these ape faces and stuff again.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I got some questions for y'all. All right. So since I kind of ended on, I know the movie didn't really say it was a nuclear apocalyptic event, but we kind of just take that for granted because we don't really know. I mean, actually, if you watch a couple movies afterwards, it does explain it. I think
Mhm.
it's Rise of the Planet of the Apes or one of those. Um,
I think they
that
actually go into this in the TV series after
and the
this.
TV series, they actually explain that it was a nuclear event that caused all the humans, basically most of the humans, to die off. Let's put it that way. So, okay, and this is mainly for you, John. Then, since Chad saw the movie before, so was the ending to the movie with the Statue of Liberty coming out of the sand any kind of shocker to you, or did you kind of think this is not Orion or wherever he thought it was the whole time?
I mean, I think it was some combination. I think the whole sci-fi trope of just, hey, we're going to have a twist kind of stuck out, especially in modern movies. That's something they often do just for the entertainment value, the shock value, just to get people talking about things on social media. It's a great marketing tactic nowadays. And so there was some kind of hint of like, hey, something's not quite what it seems. But in terms of it specifically being Earth, just in the future, didn't honestly quite ring out. So yeah, it was still quite a shocker. It was like, oh, well, the film makes a whole lot more sense, and some of their suspicions and stuff makes a lot more sense as we moved along through the film. The ending kind of really tied it all together to me. So I mean, shocking in a sense of I didn't particularly expect that ending. Shocking in the terms of there was a twist, not necessarily, because that just seems to play out in a lot of films, just if nothing else, to get you thinking and talking. So
Yeah, a lot of those, especially back in the early '60s and late '50s, there really wasn't a twist. This was like one of the first movies that actually had like a twist at the end. Uh, but they were actually in Belize. The writers were, and they were trying to figure out, hey, how are we going to do an ending? They're like, what are we doing? How are we going to do this ending? And they couldn't think of it. They thought about it. They thought about it, and there happened to be a picture of the Statue of Liberty was like right there, and they were like, that would be so cool if we could just have part of it, coming out of the ground or something. And then that's kind of how it got their stuff, because that's not in the book at all,
Mm-mm.
apparently. So,
well, I
okay.
mean, it worked well.
Well,
It did. I really did. Because I was like, I mean, I'm the one that picked this movie because I was chomping at the bit. I was like, I really want to see this movie. I haven't seen it in forever, you know, and so I was like, all right, we got to, I love the classics, and so
see, the thing
okay.
is, when I first watched it, it was a surprise to me seeing the Statue of Liberty there. But seeing, I was expecting looking at it, but I never thought I didn't. Like, sorry, I I've seen the series, I've seen the prequel, and until you watch those, you don't know why they was there until then. So I love this. I love this. I love the movie. So I'm glad we watched it.
Yeah, thanks, Chad. All right, here, let's go with my next question here. Okay, so there was a lot of, let's say, brutality, I guess you could say. So, did the humans in the film deserve the treatment that they received from the apes? Let's start with you, Chad. What did you think?
Without knowing, no, but you got to think of what in our time. Yes, I think we deserved that because we mistreated the apes even when we were superiority of them. So I think the roles reverse. Yeah, I think it was good, but not good, but just more justifying to them. So I think this we deserved it more than we not deserved it.
Okay, I get it. All right, John, how about you?
I mean, considering the context of the whole film and the fact that there's that general idea that man, humans destroyed everything. It does make sense from their perspective. I think in the grand perspective of all things are meant to be treated with dignity and respect, at least in some sense, as a created being. I don't necessarily think so, but at the end of the day, when your history is all humans destroyed everything, in their context, it makes sense that like, hey, they don't deserve to be treated well because they destroyed everything in the past. And I think it makes sense from the perspective of the apes, but in perspective of outsider looking in, not necessarily, just from the sense of I don't think anything or anyone deserves that necessarily brutal treatment. So I think it falls in that context of outsider looking in. But I do understand the perspective of the apes from the inside looking out.
Yeah, and one thing that I'll jump in here with mine. My point is did they deserve the treatment? No. Um, just because, as what you guys both said, we have life, and even then in the '60s, they were still experimenting on apes. They were still experimenting on animals, and I really think that this movie was kind of a portray for that, not portray, but a kind of a stand up for it. Is hey, are we doing this is right? Would we want to be treated the same way as we're treating these animals? So I just kind of think that's kind of one way to look at it. Very similar to what you guys said.
See, I got another thing. Well, you look at it. We got the main scientist Zero, and you okay, Dave?
Keep going. Yeah, keep going.
So Zero and her with the other eight chimpanzee that kind of hey this, treated special to these humans and didn't harm them that well. You understand the harm come from the military type, the gorillas, not the chimpanzee. So I think there was some sympathy and some like, hey, that's a life. We should treat it as life and respect it and with dignity. And they showed that, and even they showed that more in the TV series. If you ever watched it,
Yeah, I have, but it's been
yeah, it's been years.
years. Okay, let me go on. So, what social and political themes did you identify in the films, and how do they relate to our society today? We're going to start with you, John.
I mean, for it to be Planet of the Apes, it's surprisingly human in terms of themes. I mean, you have that huge case system, you have the huge power grabs, the greed, the whole I'm leader, I'm going to do it my way, the whole we're going to mistreat a group because we don't like them or because of the past. We got the whole I don't know. There's a lot. It clearly has. It's very synonymous with our world, but I think at the end of the day, even though it is Planet of the Apes, humans and life is going to life regardless, and that's just kind of how the world rolls. Because no matter how history moves, for some reason, these kind of weird power grab themes, and really most issues come down to that idea of power, whether it be social or political, and even in these things, it comes down to the power grab. It's for some reason they find themselves playing that theme plays itself out in history literally every day. And for some reason it's just the people who are in power that change, and it's never necessarily the theme that changes. And from our worldview, definitely because of the sin that's entered the world. But I think overall they're definitely there. Those power grab themes and the idea that people, and I guess apes in this case, treat each other pretty messily, and they're going to keep doing that.
Yep, I agree. All right, Chad, how about you?
I agree with John right there. Is if you look at it, even saying this, you got gorillas, you got chimpanzees, you got apes, and you look at it as more apes rather than the ruling class, the judge, the other high end doctor, and then you get the smarts, the chimpanzees that can naturally, I would think, that would be more the leader of all the apes besides the gorilla or the actual ape itself. So they set up their own government to fit them, and it mirrors to what you see today. power grabs, and that's why I agree with John on that. So
Yeah, I can see that totally. I agree totally with what both of you guys said about power grabs and all that. I mean, one thing that I kind of focused on is that when you have a political leader and then you have a spiritual leader, they should not necessarily go hand in hand all the time. You know, um, that's why they invented the separation of church and state, so we could have the church on one hand, and then you have kind of be the offset of our political powers, and that's just kind of one of the things that I kind of thought about. I don't know. It's good. All right. All right. All right. Now comes the big question. The big question. No, it's not going to be the one. What would you do to fix the movie? Because we're not going to go that way today at all. I can tell you all that just because one, they've tried it so many times. I mean, we've already had two reboots already at least. We've had TV series. We've had multiple. So we're not going to go there. Okay, if human beings were not the dominant species on Earth, what would have the most potential to be the dominant species? So, like in the movie, the apes were the dominant species, and the humans were the lesser. So, what has the potential to be the dominant species on Earth in 2023? Chad, we'll start with you.
I'll still say the apes. It's to me is they look like us, but other than that, I still the apes, but I'll go more on the chimpanzee side instead of the ape and the gorilla. So
Okay, John, how about you?
Cats. Definitely cats. They already rule the
Cats.
world. They just do it very subtly. They get us to do their bidding all the time for no reason. They are clearly going for the power grab, and I think they already have it. I think they just don't like they just haven't tried to take actual power yet because they don't need to. They can be lazy and let us take care of them. So I personally think cats. I think their only downfall is going to be water. But outside of that, I think cats. Because real talk, there's not a whole lot of other animals on the planet that I could
I didn't
really
say
think of.
animals.
Like,
I didn't say
what other
animals.
species, Dave, that we
All right.
know of on Earth?
All right. I'm going to go there. AI.
Okay, yeah, that's
Okay,
fair. I'll give you that.
it is AI could eventually become the dominant species. If I mean, we can't go
Not if
anywhere
cats are around.
without having our cell phone. We can't. What we used to be. I used to remember all of my friends' phone numbers. We don't remember them anymore. I don't know my kids' phone numbers. I know my wife's, but that's about it. I mean, honestly, I got 3 kids. I don't know any of their phone numbers if it wasn't for my phone. You know, I, I when I say AI, I'm meaning AI and technology. I think it can take over. What used to be
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Detroit jobs, in making cars and all that. Now robots do. So that's kind of the way I went with it. But hey, those are my questions for today. Everybody else, for all you guys out there that are watching us, you can contact us on X. I still call it Twitter, which is at these sci-fi guys. You can email us these sci-fi guys at gmail.com, or you can reach us right here on YouTube at these sci-fi guys. I'm trying to make it easy. And that's when I say sci-fi, that's SCI Fi. All right. Thank you guys very much. And let's see here. Today we did Planet of the Apes, right? Our next movie. Who picked out the next movie? It was I think it was John. John picked out our next movie, and our next movie is going to be dun 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 Asteroid City. Wow. Okay. I don't know anything about this
Listen,
movie.
all I know is prepare for weird,
it's
prepare
already
for very
weird.
tongue-in-cheek humor, prepare for great colors and directing and cinematography because it's Wes Anderson. Outside of
Yeah.
that, that's about what I know. And I know it deals with different forms of science fiction in terms of like general theme. In terms of how well it sticks to sci-fi, I'm not entirely sure. I just know it's Wes Anderson. It was sci-fi related, and that combination was enough for me. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Okay, okay, Chad, have you seen this?
I haven't seen it, but
Okay,
I've
so
seen a few Wes Anderson movies. So
okay, so none of us have seen this, so the questions are going to be very interesting. But I mean, with this picture, if you look at see some of the, I mean, this has got some star-studded actors in here. You know, it's got Scarlett Johansson, Tom Hanks, um, Jeff Goldblum,
it's
Steve
got
Carell.
you got Matt
Uh,
Dillon.
yeah, Matt Dillon's in here.
Yeah,
Cranston, Margot Robbie, William Defoe.
look, here's this. Wes Anderson's a good producer and director. His movies has always been spot on. I loved his movies, and all those actors you see there is pretty much you'll see him in every other movie he's made. In
Wow.
some, so
Well, that'll be very interesting to see. Kind of, is this? We'll see. I'm kind of getting vibes of what is it? Bob and Silent Bob. What is it? The guy
Jay
in
and, Sa-
Silent.
Jay and Silent Bob,
Yeah, Jay and Silent Bob. That's kind of the vibes I'm kind of getting from it with all the different stars. Or what is it? Mars Attacks. That one
Mars.
had that one. We haven't. That's gonna be eventually on the list, but that's like way later on down
I'm
the line.
like,
That's way later on down the line. We've actually, if you guys are watching now, we've actually come up with our list, and we've actually got it pretty much set up until like the end of February. And of course, you know, we're going to take some time off for Christmas, and we're going to take some time off for Thanksgiving. So, but we pretty much got a really good list. I mean, and it's got anime, it's got some comedy. Obviously, this next one is supposed to be funny. It's got some borderline horror, I guess you could
mhm,
say. It's just kind of suspenseful. I think
yeah.
is a better word,
I will
not
say
really
more
horror.
suspense, but still.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, I mean, we try to do a different thing. You know, we've hit some of the big ones. You know, like we did with Back to the Future and with Star Wars Episode 4. You know, and we'll eventually get to some of the other ones. You know, that kind of onto those. You know, we did what my brain is going blank right now. Excuse me. With Repo Man. No, not Repo Man. What was that? Total Recall. Thank you.
Total
Golly,
Recall.
my brain is shot today. I'm tired. It's my bedtime. So
Good.
you know, I get up early. I'm up at like 5 or 6 in the morning, and then I'm like, okay, it's time for bed. You know.
Mm.
But anyway, we guys appreciate everybody. And let me see any final words, guys. Nope, nope. All right, sounds good then. All right then. Peace out. Thanks you guys for watching.